Well, I should probably put this in perspective. What I'm about to read was written very late one night, following the Doors' first concert in Seattle. They were not very well known here at all at the time. It was also written in July 1967, at the very apex, the very zenith of the counterculture psychedelic revolution, in which I was an enthusiastic participant. This review was to be published in the Helix, Seattle's first underground newspaper. As clueless as Rome before the barbarians stormed its gates, as oblivious as Pompeii on the eve of Vesuvius's genocidal belch, Seattle was totally unprepared for the rape and pillage to which its youth were subjected at Eagles Auditorium last night. Neither was it ready for the anointment, the empowerment, or the sanctification that were also part and parcel of a rock concert come psychic ordeal come full-blown ecstasy rite. For some time now, Seattle's adopted house bands had been the Youngbloods and Country Joe and the Fish, groups whose electrical bananas may shock straight society, but who, to their fans, are as folksy and affectionate as psychedelic puppies. Accustomed to having their faces licked, Seattleites were caught off guard by a band that, while it might sniff a crotch or hump a leg or two, definitely does not wag its tail. By a band that embodies the prevailing zeitgeist with all of its political optimism, spiritual awareness, and liberating transcendence of obsolete values, but embodies it with an unprecedented potency, concentration, and theatrical vehemence. A band that flaunts rather than soft pedals the threat that the new culture presents to the old culture, and that leaves both cultures rather reeling from the experience. When dazed but fermented, we staggered at last from the hall last night, we were each and every one under the spell of four musicians who, innocuously enough, called themselves after simple, ubiquitous, utilitarian devices intended for the closing off or opening up of architectural spaces. Yes, that would be doors. But my God, what doors are these? Imagine jeweled glass panels, knobs that resemble spinning phalluses, mail slots that glow like jack-o'-lantern lips, and not a welcome mat in sight. Enter if you dare, my children. Exit if you can. The Doors. Their style is early biconical, late patricidal. Father, I want to kill you. Lunchtime in the Everglades, Black Forest blood sausages on electrified bread, Jean Genet up a totem pole, artist at the barricades, Edgar Allan Poe drowning in his bird bath, Massacre of the Innocents, Tartanella the Satyrs, Bacchanalian, Dionysian, L.A. pagans drawing down the moon. The Doors, the musical equivalent of a ritual sacrifice, an amplified sex throb, a wounded yet somehow elegant yowl for the lost soul of America. Histrionic tricksters making hard cider from the apples of Eden while petting the head of the snake. The Doors. The intensity begins the moment they stalk on stage, and it doesn't let up until the purge is over. Catharsis complete. Even between numbers, there's no relaxation, no chit-chat, no pandering, no horsing around. Like the classical actors of Japan, the Doors project all the more intensity when they are silent. They even tune up with an involvement so fierce it would scare the mamas and the papas out of their mama pants and papa pants. The Doors. Their voice is dark and bloody, a voice from the bowels, satanic in combustion, devouring in energy, awesome in spirit. The voice of Nietzsche, stopped short in terror, succumbing to madness, lusting for the salvation of flesh. The Brechtian voice of the Berlin Music Hall, warning a new generation of the rising tide of American fascism. A voice soaked with a rabid rage of destruction, yet neither wanton nor negative. Like Shiva, the divine destroyer of the Hindu, the Doors kill only to clear the way for rebirth. They evoke the eternal rhythmic balance of life and death, darkness and light, because the doors that really matter always swing both ways. Four Doors, John Densmore, drums, perhaps the best drummer in all of rock. While most drummers seldom stray from the beat, Densmore crosses the beat, in and out, back and forth, creating counter beats and accentuating the offbeats. He not only provides the Doors with a fantastic complexity of percussion, he goads them into new time signatures and actually leads them along their epic melodic line. Ray Manzarek, organ, as authoritative as the Grateful Dead's Pigpen, but far more sophisticated. He obviously cut his teeth on Bach. Manzarek flows through a field of variations and figurations as grandiose as the richest Baroque. One moment, he is pliant and searching. The next, he is tearing at the keyboard like a starving man ripping a chicken apart. Robbie Krieger, guitar. With the drums and organ taking the lead, Krieger supplies a hard, unyielding rhythm that occasionally explodes into startling new disclosures of chord and modulation. Jim Morrison, vocals. Morrison begins where Mick Jagger and Eric Burdon leave off, an electrifying combination of an angel in grace and a dog in heat. He becomes intoxicated by the danger of his poetry and swept by impious laughter, he humps the microphone, beats it, caresses it, kisses it, sucks it. Sexual in an almost psychopathic way, Morrison's richly textured voice taunts and teases, threatens and throbs. With incredible vocal control and the theatrical projection of a Shakespearean star, he plays with the audience's emotions like a mischievous child with its doll. Now I kiss you, my little ones. Now I wring your necks. The Doors are carnivores in a land of musical vegetarians. Their craftsmanship is all the more astonishing in the light of their savagery. They have the ensemble tightness of the Juilliard String Quartet, but their grandeur is not of the intellect, but of warm red blood. Their stained talons, wet fangs, and leathery wings are seldom out of view. Yet, if they leave us crotch raw and exhausted, at least they leave us aware of our aliveness and our destiny. The Doors scream into the darkened auditorium what all of us in the counterculture are whispering more softly in our hearts. We want the world, and we want it now! Thank you. Thank you so much.